Hey guys, welcome back to FluffyK. Today's Loremongers video is about how I construct themes and narratives for my armies. I guess the first question is, why would you have an army theme in the first place? For me, the most important reason is it creates a better attachment to your army, to your force. Creating that deeper attachment is the entire reason why we do the hobby in the first place. On a more practical level, one of the best reasons to have a theme for your army is if you're going to a tournament, or you're going to, perhaps you're participating in a narrative campaign, a narrative-driven campaign. And of course, having a theme for your army in either of those scenarios is pretty important. In tournaments, it can determine whole swaths of your score. It really depends on the tournament you like to attend. In a narrative campaign, it kind of makes the whole thing tick. It can be the reason why you take the options that you select. I suppose the third and equally important reason is that it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for you, and it's a lot of fun for your opponents, the guys and girls that you play against. Because in addition to that deeper attachment to your force, it ups the ante, if you will, for your games, because you're suddenly participating in a story. You're suddenly part of a narrative, which well, not for everyone, but it can certainly generate some extra excitement, which is never a bad thing in games of 40k, as exciting as they are. On to the how of how we actually go about it, creating an army theme. The first step I usually take is to write a list. And most of us, if we've played a game of 40k, we've written a list before. I write them all the time, just for kicks. And writing lists within matched play restrictions. So, for example, you might create detachments to make your army battle forged, etc. It's often a requirement for most competitive 40k games. So, most tournaments will enforce some sort of battle forged policy or adhere to the match play restrictions from the core rulebook. That can be a good place to start, and certainly a place that I like to start from. I often write lists intended for match play, just so I've got the added utility that if I need I've already got a list thrown together if I ever need one for match play, like a casual game with friends or even at a tournament. But that being said, it's by no means a rule of thumb. This method basically works just as well for narrative play or open play. So after you've written your list, you've put together a force from your favourite units. From there, it's time to basically discover the identity and personality of your force. So who they are, what they're about, why they do what they do. So in essence, it's the who, the why, the what, the when, and the how of the force. I find it helps to sit back and look at the list and sort of try and appreciate the big picture. So, is there something that all the units in my army share in common? Like, is every unit in the army particularly shooty, or is everything particularly fighty, or indeed, do I have a mix of both? Do I have a prevalence of a certain type of unit in the army? Like, is my army predominantly vehicles, or is it predominantly infantry? Or again, is it a mix? Do I have a ton of flyers? Do I have a prevalence of a certain type of weapon? Have I got nothing but flamers? Have I got nothing but melters? Have I got lots of las cannons? Have I got Magnus the Red? It could be anything that sticks out as being an identifying factor for your force. And after you've done that, well, you've sort of got a cornerstone to start building the identity of your force. Something that your force can identify with, and something that others can identify with your force. To better establish a personality, if you will. From that, or even leading into that, it helps to be inspired. So everyone gets inspiration from different places. and it's basically anything you feel strongly about. Might not be something you feel strongly about. It might just be something you feel has a very close connection with the force you're trying to build and the ideas behind that force. But I generally find it's a lot, if I'm using this method and I'm starting from an army list to sort of extrapolate a theme, I generally find it much more enjoyable to have something to be looking for inspiration from sources of things that I love. You can get inspired for your army literally by anything. Like anything creative, it's infinitely helpful to draw on inspiration from things you love or even things you hate. The last step is to put it all together, basically, so it's to write a narrative. Because once you've got some inspiration and a good grasp on the identity and personality of your army, it's time to write a narrative for them. Now, the basic premise is to write about what your faction does best and how it does it, why it does it. Basically showcasing the identity and personality, so the who, what, how, etc. And for clarity, a narrative isn't necessarily a short story. In 40k Codex is one of my favourite aspects of the timelines that show the progress of a faction throughout the 41st millennium and even before that. There are often related sequences of events that link together, and that in itself is a perfectly good narrative. I love to listen to the Black Library content as basically the premier source of official lore in Warhammer 40k, but it's by no means the only source out there. The core rulebook and codexes have an absolute plethora of lore and content to draw on for theme inspiration. YouTube lore videos on YouTube, even the ones from this very channel, are great inspiration for finding events and characters and actions that fit with your theme. Bring on aspects of the fluff, of the existing background and lore. It's an especially solid way to lend a little credibility to your theme within the established lore. Sometimes in tournaments your theme's being judged by a panel or a theme judge, if you will. Having something that fits nicely, entirely of your own creation, but you created it in such a way that fits with existing lore, that can be a really good way to impress such a judge. Well guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this is in some way helpful to you when writing your army themes. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe to FluffyK for more 40k lore videos. Leave your questions or feedback, or maybe even army themes that you've written yourself. Please leave them in the comment section below. Catch you all next time. Signing out.